talking about
Right,
this
it's a
series
very
being like,
casual
whoa.
fan. So as an exhibitor, I don't recommend it to people who like sell $400 sculptures. It's super, like a predator sculpture. That's their primary thing because it's so casual fan.
Right, they're not gonna spend hundreds of dollars on it.
Not a single sculpture, so.
It's just loading, so I'll just talk in the meantime. Alright. Hello, everybody. Hello. I love what's already going on. We've got some networking happening. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
So, just as a little introduction, I am Avery Dort. I am a creative streamer. I also play games on my streams, and I do commissions on via Twitter, like Twitch email commissions and portrait commissions and many types of commissions, and I also do conventions. So I did a panel last year, and my thing about panels is that it's really relaxed. We're all people, we're all artists, we're chill, okay? It's all good. I am recording this panel, so I'll be posting it on YouTube later if you want to watch it again. So I want to start with a disclaimer because influence and social media is different when you're an artist than when you're like a business or some other type of content creator. It's still loading. I don't know if we're going to have the PowerPoint in time. But influence as an artist, to me on social media, it's definitely different than a business. Because a business, their goal is to sell things, and influence is the ability to push product and stuff like that. And as an artist, influence is your name recognition and just people being able to recognize your work and having like a good presence on social media. So that's the difference between influencer as an artist and influencer as a company. Some people don't like the term, but I say all artists on social media, we're all influencers because we all have the same goal of making our work recognizable and creating a strong presence on social media. So as an artist in the modern day with the lovely social media that we have with all its pros and cons, we have many hats to wear. Many hats to wear. You have to be well-rounded. You cannot just focus on one thing. So essentially what I mean by that, if you're making a YouTube video about art, you have to be more than an artist. Let's say you're recording a speed paint. You need to be a cinematographer. You need to understand the camera that you're using. You need to be an editor. You need to understand the programs that you're editing in. You need to be a good talker if you're going to be like talking over your speed paint. You need to wear so many hats. You need to be a social media strategist. You need to understand the right times to post, how to post, and what you're posting, and make sure that your posts are optimized so that many people will be able to see it and your outreach is like very strong with each post that you make. You also need to make sure that you're professional with your work. So for me, this is a really big one. When I was doing my panel last year, which was your first year as an artist, unfortunately I wasn't able to record it, so I can't direct you to it. But I will say that one of the big things that I mentioned in that panel was that being professional with your social media is so important. And by be professional, I don't mean that you can't ever make jokes, because we're people. Again, we're artists, and it's important that you make sure that you are not just a stone wall. You want to, have a community around your art, but you don't want that community to just be solely like centered around your work. You are a human being, and you deserve to be recognized not only by your art, but as an artist yourself. So while you have your social media and you're definitely posting your artwork and stuff like that, it's okay to, post jokes, post that one really funny meme that you just can't help posting every once in a while, or retweeting that one funny tweet. But you really have to make sure that the content that you're posting is something that you want associated with your name. So I know this is something very basic and something that a lot of people understand, but it's something you have to check yourself about, because you can't just be posting whatever. You can't post something that will bite you back in like 5 years when you finally reached some level of success in however you define it on social media as an artist, and someone scrolls back 5 years and they tarnish your reputation because of something you said when you were, I don't know, let's say you're 25 now, something you said when you were 20, right, and you had just started using social media, you didn't really understand it yet. So you can't really defend yourself in that situation because that's something that you said or something you retweeted or something that you did. So it's so important starting now that you keep your professional presence on social media. So I just want to ask really quick, how many of you guys here have a social media for your artwork? All right, that's awesome. So how many of you guys have a Twitter? All right, Les? All right, getting into it. All right, cool.
I don't like it, but I have to.
Don't like it, but you have to. Okay, cool. Because Twitter to me is one of the most important platforms, and I don't mean that for posting artwork. That's not what I mean. Actually, on my Twitter, I don't really post that much artwork. Twitter is an amazing platform for networking. And I don't mean networking in the sense of getting people to support you for your benefit. Networking, like actually making real connections across the globe with artists that you never would have met. That favorite artist that you have, that you followed for so many years, like one day they will be able to recognize you if you have like a really good presence. And I think Twitter is one of the best websites to do that. Actually, within the past week, one of my all-time favorite artists, I'd say like of all time for many years, actually followed me on Twitter recently because of my interaction with them. And I don't say this in a way like to brag. I just say this in a way that as artists, we're all humans and we value these connections that we make with other artists, and they're extremely important as we go further down the line. So I have always supported their work, and now they have the opportunity to see my work, and hopefully in the future, you know, they can recognize my name as I can recognize theirs. So that's why I say Twitter is important, because friendships as an artist on social media are crucial. Our work is hard to share without the voice of others as well. It is possible, but it is important to be a good person and be able to network out to other artists by supporting them, and you know, maybe eventually in turn they'll support you as well. Don't do things for the intention of getting support back, but just understand.
Never do sub for sub or anything.
Yeah.
Not like, oh, I followed you, can you follow me? Just let them do it on their own. Follow who you want to follow and just let things happen.
Yeah, that's a big thing that I will mention later. Follow for follow can be very detrimental. It can do exactly the opposite of what some people expect it to do. Although at the same time, a good majority of people who do follow for follow, it does show you a lot about them and their intentions as an artist, because your intentions should never be to get as many followers as possible. When I say increasing your social media influence as an artist, I don't mean having 1 million followers. I don't mean having 2 million followers. What I mean is having a healthy, supportive base that supports your work. You could have one person that buys all of your artwork. You could have 100 people that buy none of your artwork. It's not even a matter about buying your artwork. It's just a matter of creating a presence where people can recognize your artwork and where they support your work so that you can continue working and hopefully be able to grow from there, and maybe even get job opportunities in industry and stuff like that, because your social media is super important when you're applying for jobs in the industry. So the other thing is Instagram. Who has an Instagram for their artwork? Many of you. All right, so I think we can come up with a pretty general consensus that it's really hard to grow on Instagram as an artist, and that's okay. That nod was so real. That was from the soul. So basically, I completely agree with you. Instagram is one of my worst personal social medias, but what I have been able to figure out, I've been doing social media since early 2016, which isn't that long, but I've really dedicated a lot of my time to multiple platforms. So a really important thing for Instagram is cross-platform promotion. So because Twitter is a very good tool, and it's actually with retweets and likes that you can't really have retweets on Instagram. Someone can repost your work, but they're just gonna like that piece instead of going to your tweet, or I mean your post on Instagram. So the beautiful thing about Twitter is that it's really good for outreach. And now your Instagram is really good for showing your work, so now you have to even that out. So cross-platform promotion between both of those is amazing. And then you can also have people who find your work through your hashtags, which is honestly, in this day and age, not really like that common as common as it should be. But people that find your work on Instagram, you can also send them over to your Twitter, even though it's easier to send them from your Twitter to your Instagram. And honestly, Instagram is really difficult these days. The algorithm is really pinned against people, especially artists. Instagram really expects you to post very, very often. And as artists, you know, with burnout and trying to pass art block and situations like that, it's not really entirely common. So something I can suggest for Instagram, which for me is really difficult because I like making stuff and posting it immediately, is scheduling your work. So Instagram definitely has the perfect hours to post. If you post at the wrong time and only a few people see it at first, the algorithm is completely against you, and it's going to hide your post because obviously people are not interested in it. So make sure that you post in hours that are common for your followers. So you definitely want to be keeping in mind like where your followers are from, if they're very local then definitely post in local active times, which I would say for Florida would probably be around 6 to 10 p.m. because that's around when people would be checking social media. And that's when you would get that like instant reach to your posts that will ultimately help you with the algorithm. So the other thing is YouTube. How many people have a YouTube for their artwork? Wow.
Working on it.
Barely any. All right. So YouTube is a whole nother monster because it is so much work for so little gratification. But the thing about YouTube is that with the same thing that I said, the cross promotion from your Twitter, especially Twitter, because Twitter posts about YouTube videos will get a lot more reach than just posting a video and just expecting people to find it. So you have to be sure to promote your videos very effectively. And what I mean by that is a really good technique that a lot of streamers use, and I'm going to be referencing streamers a lot because I am a Twitch streamer. I've been streaming since 2016. So I have a lot of experience with Twitch streamers, and there's so much more knowledge out there for them than artists. I feel like as artists we shield, like some artists shield knowledge from other ones because we feel that other success is going to damper ours, but I don't feel that that is like an exclusive concept. I feel that as artists succeed, it opens the ground for more artists to succeed. I don't think it's a zero-sum game. Ultimately, we can all succeed, and our success doesn't deter success from anybody else.
Yeah, we should all help each other out.
Exactly.
We're all just, none of that stuff for something, but just getting and geeking out together and talking about what's going on, and then sharing some of our favorite artists and just opening up, and then we can, especially here at the cons, it's like, oh, check out my friend here, here's their card, they're down at this booth, da 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 da. Yeah, it's
so
great.
Definitely. The way that you interact with other artists is very important, and you can definitely do that when you share your work. And so YouTube is a really good one, a really good example of this, because you can definitely interact with other YouTubers. You can collaborate with them at conventions, and definitely don't promote people with the intention of they're going to promote you back. Definitely be willing to support those that you really enjoy. Don't just support people because they have a lot of followers. And I'm going to take questions at the end.
Okay, sorry.
No,
it was more a comment on what you're saying about YouTube.
Okay.
Is that what I found, especially in the YouTube community, what's important is you find people that are around your same range, and especially people that you meet at the cons, friends that you get to meet, and you grow with them, and you grow together, and then you can appear on each other's channels and all that, and that's really how you grow as a YouTuber, is by joining in a community and forming a community together.
Definitely. The beautiful thing about the artistic community, though, is that it's not necessarily limited to having similar follower counts, because you can have the same follower count as somebody who makes a completely different kind of artwork than you, and try to collaborate with each other, but it just won't work because ultimately you have very different interests. So the beautiful thing about the art community is that you're not really limited by follower count, because as artists, not necessarily as consumers of artists, so people that would be, the ones following your work for the most part, we're not limited by those follower counts, and ultimately our work speaks for itself most of the time, because as artists we understand that your follower count does not define talent. And that's very true for many people. I'm not saying that they're less talented than others, it's just ultimately our skill is not defined by the follower count that we have. So the other thing is my favorite one. Who has a Twitch for their artwork? 2. All right, awesome. Because three-ish. Yeah.
Twitch for artwork?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
okay.
Twitch
So
does that.
hold on. All right, I'm ready to talk about this. All right, I'm not sponsored. I will start with that. All right. So for those of you guys who don't know, who might see Twitch is just a gaming website where just Ninja plays Fortnite and that's it. Some of you got that. It's all right. I see you. So if you guys don't know, Twitch actually has a really, really flourishing creative community that's been in existence for many years now. It's called Twitch Creative. It's a whole game category. They still call them game categories. So instead of typing a game, you would type creative. There are so many artists that you might not even have known how to Twitch. So many creators all creating live content for many people to see. And the beautiful thing about the creative community is that everyone is so incredibly friendly. So I highly recommend, guys, if you are able, to create live content, which I know is not possible for everybody. for living situations, and you know, just some technicalities such as the time that you have. I highly recommend Twitch as a platform because you can create that instant engagement with the people that consume your artwork. So it's actually really, really amazing as a platform, and you can definitely, the most amazing part about it is that it can be a branch for your other social media networks. So during your streams, you can mention, oh, like, I posted something on Instagram, or I posted a new YouTube video, or I, you know, like, check out my Twitter, where I post updates about my stream, and I also post artwork. It's a really good central point, and actually, the way that Twitch is growing right now, I don't know if you guys have heard of it before, I don't know if you guys have heard about it recently, it's actually really on the rise right now, and if you guys can get in on that wave before it's sailed away, and then it's like YouTube, where it's so hard to grow, it really is definitely possible to grow on Twitch right now. So as much as I'm talking about it, I won't take up more time in this panel for it. I am doing 2 panels later today, one with Lit by Net, who's in the audience right now. She is amazing. So it's all about getting into Twitch etiquette. It's actually 2 hours from 4:30 to 6:30. If you want to check that out, you can check it out in the little pamphlet. So I won't talk to you guys too much about Twitch, all right? So Picardo, who uses Picardo? All right, we got one person. So Picardo is another live streaming option for artwork. And as you might notice from Instagram Live and whatever Twitter calls theirs, I'm not really sure what they called it. Periscope, there you go. That one. Which is not maybe necessarily the best for artwork. Live content is definitely in demand right now, especially from artists, because consumers of artwork want to see the process, they want to see how you work, they want to see how you think, they want to see who you are. So live content, if it's possible for you, I understand once again it's not possible for everybody, is a really effective way right now, and that's what's in demand as an artist. You may see like big artist names moving to live streams, such as Audra Claire. She recently started streaming on Twitch, and she's already partnered. She's a big name. I don't know if those of you who know, she's great. So she's a perfect example of using that cross-platform promotion, because she definitely has a really strong social media presence. So the other thing is that your hashtags, actually, very important. So everybody's like, let me post 1,000 hashtags on this, and definitely someone will find it. It's tacky, it's irritating, people don't like it, they seem like you're just out to get followers, and ultimately, while hashtags are about promoting your work more, you shouldn't see it as trying to get things from Instagram, it's just trying to supplement your work. You know, if people are looking for it anyways, maybe they could find my work too, which is not necessarily going to happen, so don't be surprised when hashtags aren't all too effective. I can think of a few that are pretty effective off the top of my mind, like art, drawing, painting, artists on Instagram. Those are usually really effective ways, and for example, if you're doing a convention, you can do hashtag Supercon. Just make sure that your hashtags are properly like matched to your artwork. And the other thing is there's many websites that if you post one hashtag, they'll actually tell you which other hashtags you can use that are very popular and actually have high engagement. So you can make sure that the hashtags you're using just don't have 3,000 million posts just for the heck of it, right? That the hashtags you're using are actually ones where people will be able to find your work. So another thing is follow for follow. As I said, I was going to mention later. I'm just going to go right off the bat here and say don't do that. That is like one of the easiest ways to make yourself seem like all you want is followers. And it's okay to want followers. It's okay to want to grow and to want to have more people's eyes on your work. But instead of having passive eyes that just followed you just so you could follow them back, it's better to have engaged followers, because I'm sure you guys have seen those accounts on whatever social media that have millions and millions of followers, but they get like 2 views on each post. Like, that looks bad for you as an artist to not have that engagement, and it's discouraging. Like, why have the follower that you value so much if they're not even gonna engage in your work? Like, you know, aim for like true followers. You want people who consume your work to be people who actually enjoy it, not people who just scroll past it because they had to follow you because you did follow for follow, or maybe they'll just unfollow a few weeks later. You aim for people who are genuinely interested in your work.
Your fans.
I wouldn't define them as fans, because as artists, I mean, I can think that most of us would not really enjoy that word. That's why I like consumers of our artwork, because as artists, not always, but having eyes on our artwork keeps us in check. It helps us grow, because then people can like supply critique. So part of our work is not only trying to make a living, but also enjoying sharing our artwork with the world. So networking right is really important, and follow for follow is definitely not the way I would go about it. Like, I would highly recommend against it, actually. So the other thing is smarter content. So if you don't like making fan art, maybe you shouldn't post fan art just for that instant gratification of likes. And I'll explain why. If you get 100 followers when you post like a really epic Mercy drawing, but you don't even like Overwatch, you don't even like making fan art, you just wanted to do it because you knew that people were interested in stuff like that, there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. But if you create all your social media around posting just fan art, and then eventually you decide, okay, cool, I got the following, finally, now I can start posting my original work because that's what I ultimately wanted to do. Well, now the thousands or millions or however many followers you have, they don't want your original work. They liked your fan art. So then you're going to start getting comments. When are you going to draw Mercy's new skin as fan art? Then you're going to get comments about stuff that you don't necessarily want for your artwork. So I think it's really important to, it's okay to change, all right? It's okay to change your mind later if you don't like doing fan art anymore, if you don't like that fandom anymore. I personally only post original work, and I think it's important to think long term, like what content do you want all the people seeing this work now to see in the future? Where do you want to go from here, and what do you want people to see? I'm not necessarily saying everyone's going to unfollow you when you stop posting fan art, but you're definitely going to have less interaction, and ultimately you're going to have a decline in growth. So consider what you like posting and consider how you want to post in the future. And if you are going to change, think of smart ways to change. Build up like a queue of work so that you can make that transition slowly, and that it's not too harsh that anybody criticizes it and says that you were just doing other things just for the heck of it, and now you're going to do that to benefit from the growth that you got when you were just using hashtags or posts that just increased your growth for a short amount of time. That instant gratification does not last. So the other thing is burnout. This is a big one because I've actually been burnt out for like months at this point, which is another reason why I really wanted to do this panel. So social media, as beneficial as it is definitely a monster at the same time, because it creates these expectations for you as you continue to grow, and when those expectations aren't met, no matter how well you plan, you are going to face burnout at some point. You're going to be like, why aren't people engaging with my work as much as they used to? What am I doing wrong? Is my work getting worse? And then when people comment things such as, I liked your older work better, that is just like the final hay that broke the camel's back. The straw, I don't really know what to say, it doesn't matter, you get the point. It really is really difficult to deal with burnout as an artist, because with our social media, which is such a big part of being an artist, because that content that you create is really important to share your work, burnout can destroy our platforms. It can destroy the amount of viewers that you get on your live streams. It can destroy the amount of likes that you get on your post when the algorithm is pinned against you because you don't post every day. So I have some tips for dealing with burnout and how to avoid it. So the number one thing is, if you're growing and it's going really well, take a minute to step back and acknowledge the fact that it won't be like that forever. There are many plateaus in growth. You have to deal with your art not getting seen as much as it once was. But I see it as, once you're down and once your artwork is not being seen as much as it was because you had like you posted one really nice piece, everybody liked it, and then now it's relaxed again. Instead of being discouraged, see it as a challenge. Like, now I can keep like trying to make that artwork that people enjoy, but also making sure that's something I enjoy, so I can keep that healthy balance. Make sure to keep time away from social media. I know this is a panel about social media, but I'm going to tell you, being away from it is really important as well, because if you spend all day on Twitter, guilty, it really does clog your mind, and then you really have just a subconscious competitiveness. Like, you don't have to lie to yourself. Like, it's okay to compare yourself to other people. It's what we do as human beings. We're like, why am I not growing as fast as this other artist? They started later than me. I think my work is up to par. it's okay to compare yourself to people, but you also have to be able to recognize when you do that, and recognize that everybody's social media story and art story and their whole story is different. Everybody posts at different times, everybody posts different things. The way that people react to our content doesn't necessarily mean that our content is worse. It just means that we have a different experience than them, and our work is different. Our work is our own. So don't take it as an insult to you when you don't grow as fast as somebody else, even though we're bound to do that because we're human beings. It's what we do. We criticize ourselves, and as artists, we criticize ourselves the worst, more than anybody else. It's important to take that step back and be able to acknowledge that burnout is real, and that if you keep beating yourself up over losing followers and stuff like that, that it's ultimately going to create worse work for you, and it's ultimately going to do more harm than good. So the other thing is your rate of growth. So I'm going to start switching this up a bit, because now I'm going to start talking about followers. And I've been saying that's not important. Well, now I'm going to say it is important. And you're going to think I'm contradicting myself. You'll probably hate me for all the things I'm about to say. But ultimately, our followers are important. I'm going to talk about followers as numbers now, just because as artists we also have like a business side to ourselves. As much as we don't want to, our follower counts matter. And it's such a shame. It really shouldn't be that way, but that's the culture that social media has created in our generation. So, you don't want to think of it that way. But ultimately, your follower counts, and the reason they're important is a little bit different than you might think. The more you think about it, the more you can unravel this. But the followers you have is not only the amount of people already seeing your work. When somebody sees your page after finding it in some whatever way they find it, if they see a high follower count, they're more inclined to follow you. It's sad, it really is. It shouldn't be that way. It could also be the opposite, but I would say in general, people who don't also have the perspective of the artist and understanding that the follower count doesn't matter, it does at least subconsciously influence people to support you more. That's why you might see the growth of certain artists as being slow and then a spike out of nowhere. Because once those people start flocking to your work, more people are interested in it. And I can think of a really good example. I've been doing conventions for 3 years now. I've done a bunch of conventions. If there's one person looking at your stuff on the table, other people are more likely to come to your table.
Yep. The more people you have there, the bigger crowd you gather, because they're like, oh, why are they here?
Exactly. Having somebody interested in something definitely makes other people interested. So that's why, as much as you shouldn't beat yourself up about your follower count, you should still be conscious about it and definitely consider how you can grow your follower count. But don't force it. It should still be organic, but you should still care. As horrible as that sounds, and I hate myself for saying that, it really is just the nature of social media in this time that we live in. So the other thing is long-term and short-term goals. It's important to create long-term goals that it's okay if you don't meet them, and short-term goals that are easy to meet. So your goals should not necessarily be follower goals, but your goals could also be small things, like I want to post once a day, or I want to post once a week. Your goals should definitely be oriented around your short-term goals, I should mention. Should definitely be oriented around things that are not difficult to meet, criteria that is not too tough for you, and they should be that little gratification that keeps you going. Like maybe I will post another thing today, even though I have to go a little bit out of my way to do it. So keep your short-term goals something easy to manage, and your short-term goals should not be follower-based. They should just be based on encouraging you to post on your social media, because ultimately, as horrible as it is, you do have to post consistently, you do have to create artwork consistently so that you can be posting it. So keep that in mind. So for long-term goals, I would recommend having things that keep you going. Like maybe one day I will have 1 million followers. Maybe one day I will be at the rate of artistic influence as this one artist that I love. So that way those short-term goals can be oriented to helping you get there. Like if I post consistently, I will be happier with my work. I will work more, my artwork will improve, and guess what? More people will see my work, and the more it improves, the more people will be interested in my work. And the more that you post, the better you get at posting, because you see what works and you see what doesn't, which is why managing your engagement is so important. Some people don't like to look at how many likes they got. Some people don't like to look at how many views they got on their latest YouTube video. But it's important. Seeing what works and what doesn't is crucial, because if you keep doing what doesn't work, you're just going to waste your time. And ultimately, it's like you're just spending time creating content or posting content, because you can still create the content, but if you upload artwork that most people aren't necessarily interested in, it like clogs your feed. So you want to keep that in mind. You want to look at your interaction and yeah, just keep that in mind as you're posting. So I do want to say, in about 10 minutes, I'm going to do something like not necessarily you've probably ever seen in a panel, but I'm mentioning the importance of networking. So what I want you guys to do is like get together, and I want you to speak to each other, find people who have similar artwork to you. I know, speaking to each other, not the best. Yeah, using those. I know. We're used to just drawing, but we actually have to like talk to people sometimes. I know. It's awful. I hate it too. It's all good. So that way you get to get other people's perspectives on things, because I know I'm the one up here talking, but I'm just like you people. I just maybe you don't like speaking in front of people, but I don't mind. So I want you guys to meet each other. I want you guys to speak with each other. Share your social medias. This is the one time where I'll say follow for follow is not a bad thing, because you're seeing each other in person. You know, you actually get to like engage your work together, and you get to meet other people that are local. You know, maybe you can meet up again next Supercon. I'll actually say last year's panel that I did about your first year as an artist, a few of the people I met, we still follow each other on Instagram, and a few of them have come up to my booth and we're talking. So this is actually a really effective way to start making some art friends. Like, come on, you gotta just talk to each other. None of you want to do it, so just accept the fact. All right? So I'm just gonna like wrap this up here with consistency and branding. So this is something a lot of people overlook, but I think is one of the most important parts, which is why I have this lovely little name thing up here to show you what I mean. So when I say your consistency and your branding, if you have people on your Instagram and they want to follow you somewhere else, the best way you can make sure this happens is by having strong branding. So me, my color is green. I'm very, very simple design. I like having my like logo speak for itself, really, and my art shares a very similar style. So the way I can recommend you go about this is you find one thing that you want to represent your artistic like identity and your artistic brand, as I guess you could call it, and definitely start keeping that consistent across all platforms. If you start doing artist alleys, which you guys can be told, like I highly recommend that you reach out to some of the artists and ask about it. You can feel free to ask me about it. I'm always happy to help. My booth is 1731. If you want to chat, come by. I'm losing my voice, but it's all good. It's because I've been talking to a bunch of people about stuff just like this. So if you want like those opportunities, you have to reach out outside of social media, and you have to be willing to take that step. So the other thing is start sharing your work now. This is the last thing I'm going to say before we all, hopefully get to meet each other.
Questions.
Oh yeah, I'll do some questions first, actually. So start sharing your work now. How many people are unsure about sharing their work? Anybody? No. So you guys already started sharing your work. Okay, you're uncomfortable with how your artwork is, and you don't want to post it yet because you're waiting for when you're ready to post your work. So I say it's never too early to start. The more you wait, it's less time that you have to start building your presence and meeting people and stuff like that. So definitely start now, posting your work now. The earlier you start sharing what you create, the earlier you can start building an audience around that. So I'm going to start taking some questions now. Yes.
What content do you find gives the best feedback from your followers?
All right. I'm going to mention a really good example from YouTube, which can also apply to other social medias. So I'm working with YouTube. I'm still trying to learn more before I start creating more content. But out of all the videos that I've made, my convention vlogs have been the best, like by far, like with not that much promotion. Again, my YouTube channel is not that developed yet, but my videos normally get anywhere from 50 to 100 views. And my MegaCon vlog that I did in 2016 has like 2,700 views. And that was without promotion. Like I posted it, shared it, and then like when I checked back later, I was like, whoa, what the heck happened? Like how did this happen?
They love cons.
Yes.
We all do.
They love conventions. Tutorials are really, really big because people can share it very easily. I know I'm always sharing tutorials that I see. So I'd say content that really helps are work in progress, like step by step, like on Instagram, people love being able to swipe and see how you did your work, because what social media has created is a bubble where it's not necessarily just about the artwork. It's not like going to a museum and just seeing the work. It's also about being able to see the artist, the person behind it, the work that they take to create their artwork, like all of those steps. So that's why step-by-steps, work in progress, tutorials are really, really big right now. And the good thing about tutorials or these vlogs, like I mentioned, is that people who are learning, like artists who are starting, are able to find those tutorials and able to find you through them, and maybe you can even find them, and that's a whole new network you can create right there. And I also want to like emphasize, just in case for the people who walked in, network, I don't mean it like you're going to benefit from them, I mean it like a friendship, all right? Like you support your friends, right? And they usually support you too, but you don't support them just so you can get that in return. So that's what I mean when I say network as an artist. It's different than network as a big YouTuber, as a big streamer, that kind of thing. I definitely see it as very different, and the definitions definitely vary. So, any other questions? Yes.
It's more comment and recommendation, everyone. For anyone who isn't boothing at the cons and things like that, especially if it's not just you and you have like a friend or a sibling or whatever that's going with you, it costs usually, as long as it's Artist Alley, it costs less to actually have a booth and sell your stuff there, unless you're kind of the hotel, if you're going to a hotel, than it would be just to get a 4-day or 3-day pass. So I highly recommend, the next con that you're interested in, just sign up as early as you can, and if you, prepare ahead of time. If you don't get that one, that's fine, but just keep doing it until you do, because it's well worth it.
And I also have a recommendation if you do want to booth, try and actually talk to the person who actually has it prepared, so you can try and figure out what you could possibly do, and or how to do it, or what they recommend you to try and get going to the next convention. And also I recommend you to try and see which branch you want to do a booth as well. That way you guys slash your cuts into like the cost of your everything. That way like you will kind of somehow make profit. And also if you do fail, don't look at it as a failure, but look at it as like a step to the right direction, because maybe like you make money the next time.
Especially when it comes with money, more important is to engage people. It's not so much how much money you make, it's how many people you get interested in your work. So having people just stop by and just quickly buying something isn't nearly as important as sitting down and just chatting with someone for a couple minutes or more, and just, really getting into it. Even if they didn't buy anything that day, they'll go on, they'll follow your social media, they'll tell their friends about you, you'll become friends with them, and it's amazing.
It's really priceless.
They see at the next convention, like, hey, you were at this convention.
Yeah, exactly.
Those connections are so important. Yes?
Do you make a living with your art?
I actually, now.
I know it's really personal,
I know,
sorry.
No, now this is gonna
She's
sound
banking.
weird. Alright.
Did you say she's banking? You're banking? No.
So I actually just graduated from high school.
Yeah, it's on
So,
Instagram.
yeah, I'm.
Oh, prom pictures, cute.
Thank you.
It's on our Instagram.
So yeah, I'm 17. I started social media when I was 15. So I don't necessarily have to make a living right now. So what I'm doing is I'm investing a lot more back into my artwork. Like I got a really sweet Cintiq, but that's just because I don't have to worry about housing expensive, which I know is definitely a problem for other people. So I really haven't calculated if I make a living, because I'm not worrying about that right now. Like now I'm going into college and I don't want to be thinking, is my art supporting me? I want to be able to just grow my presence. But I would say if I had to, I guess it technically could.
Are you going to school?
I don't like saying that because I'm a Twitch streamer, so I take that
sorry.
Oh, it's fine. It's all good. But yeah, so I'd still be at home so I don't have to worry about those kinds of expenses. Any other questions? No? All right, cool. So now's the fun part that we all hate.
Do we?
Most, a lot of people. So I actually have
Most of us are introverts, so yeah.
There you go. I have some business cards here, and I'm also going to be totally happy to check out your social medias. So, yeah, just want to grab them. All right. Oh, yes. Alright, so now just talk to each other, talk about your work, and I'm more than happy to follow all of you guys. So let's just all chill for like the next however long we have. Like 20 minutes, alright? Let's talk.
Oh, I made video games with her.
She's not, she's not, yeah, she was just helping out. Alright, cool. Alright, can I take a picture? What?
Just
Oh, Fiverr?
nothing.
I just say Fiverr is like, yeah, it's not good. I would just think about that as people don't value our work. They just want like a quick version and very cheap. So unfortunately, I won't recommend it for commissions. I'd like focus on building like license first, social media, and then work on commissions for I know, it's like, I'm gonna do like a panel next year, like for sure, like about commissions, like solely about that. This is not very basically there's a sitter? It's not fun, it's just like a government. I recommend Twitter. I know I said it earlier, but I recommend Twitter. Can we actually?